大家好，好久不见，欢迎。我希望你们都有好的身体。最近我我不可以做视频，因为我最近有很忙安排，所以但是呃，今天我可以做视频还有我觉得很开心。Um, yes. Hi. Sorry. I just kind of I when I decide to speak Chinese at the beginning of a video, it's a very long processing time, and I don't know why because I literally just walk around all day, kind of just saying random stuff. It is what it is. Hi, hello, how are you guys? Um, been away for a while. Glad to see you all. Hope you're all doing well. And there's been a lot on my mind, and I wanted to talk about it. Um, First and foremost, I will say that I have been studying more Chinese lately. So it is kind of fresh in my mind. Anpai is a new word that I've learned recently, which is just like having time to do things, or it's like yeah. Uh, and it's been feeling good. Like I for a while, like with language learning, everyone tends to hit a plateau when learning a language. But eventually they will get past it if they decide to continue. The plateau kind of sucks because you just feel like nothing's happening. Um, but it is what it is. And it's good to keep going because you will get it eventually. So, anyways, a couple of weeks ago, if you didn't hear, you were probably living under a rock, or maybe you just stay away from every type of media, which I don't blame you. But I'm sure most of you have heard about DoorDash Grandma. It made its nude cycle, yada yada, and it was kind of impossible not to hear about DoorDash Grandma because it was literally made to be turned into a photo op. It was a planned thing, right? Planned photo op, planned what is it? Um, oh gosh, I can't remember the word right now. Bilingual. No, I'm kidding. They had planned to do like a conference type thing, whatever you want to call it, whatever it's actually called, with the DoorDash grandma being there. And it was so weird to see this happen because they flew this lady in from Arkansas or Arkansas, as some would like to say. Flew her in from Arkansas and had her deliver McDonald's to the White House, in which Trump comes out and accepts it so graciously, right? And it becomes this huge thing. It was totally planned. That's why they had they had camera people out there and ready because that's what this was for. They specifically brought this lady out. She had the drip too. Like she had the t-shirt that said DoorDash Grandma, and it was just it was a weird. It was the entire thing was weird, right? I saw the pictures before anything, and I was like, this is a weird thing to do. And then I saw the video, and the video just got worse the longer it went on. It became awkward and it became very like disheartening. It was it just kind of also stirred up emotions, at least in me, but I'm sure others too, because this is a grandma doing gig work to get by, okay? When she should be happily retired, being able to, I don't know, do whatever hobby she has, late in her life. That is what I envision for older folks when they reach retirement age. You are able to retire, you have enough money to live and enjoy what you enjoy. We don't live in that reality, right? So this lady, she's telling she's there to talk about no tax on tips, which really doesn't help unless you make so much in tips, right? It helps the employer more than it helps the employees. You can look no further than Las Vegas. There was a reporting out of Las Vegas. I think it was like around this time last year about it, and it just really doesn't help. It's very minimal. I think even AOC late last year was talking about that aspect of it. But anyways, DoorDash grandma, I can't remember her name right now. I'm not going to remember it. It's whatever. You can look it up. She was talking about how no tax on tips was helping her. Right. She was specifically there to do that. To keep that in mind because that's very important. There to talk about this. She's talking about, oh yeah, it's helping me because I get to keep the little extra money that I get from tips from door dashing. She also explains why she started doing DoorDash. Now, she started doing DoorDash specifically to help pay for her husband's medical bills because he has stage three, I think she says, stage three cancer. It might have been prostate cancer, but don't quote me on that. So, that already is sad, right? It's like she's doing this specifically to make sure that her husband is able to continue getting medical care by paying his bills. Um, and so it kind of stirs up a couple of thoughts. It's like one, this person who is of retirement age is forced to take gig work. And then it goes, wait a minute, we our economy has been gigified, and that's also not good because you know what she doesn't get while doing this gig work. She doesn't get any type of benefits. She doesn't get her dental from it. She doesn't get um, health care from it. She doesn't get vision from it, right? And then there's also just there's no protections. Something happens, well, she's got to cover it. If her car breaks down, she has to cover that. If her tires get flat, well, now she's losing out on potential money. Also, if the car breaks down, losing on potential money. If the car gets broken into and stuff is stolen, she's got to replace that stuff. There's all these little elements to it. Also gas prices are going up. What happens when she can't afford gas prices? That kind of thing, right? So gig work itself is not it's not a good thing. We should not have gig. We can have gig work, but we should have some kind of protection for those who are doing gig work, as well as making sure that they have health care, including dental and vision as well, right? Because medical issues might stop you from going to make money for the day. So then the other aspects, right, is that she's doing it specifically to pay for her husband's medical bills. Well, why does her husband have medical bills? Why? Because he has he had he has cancer and he has to go to the hospital regularly to get treatment. And the hospital is charging him out of the wazoo, and his Medicare can't afford it. Oh wait, hello, we just also cut Medicare and Medicaid for that fact, to the tune of almost $1 trillion. So it's like, why why is why is she stuck taking gig work when she should be enjoying you know um, her life at this stage to pay for medical debt? Why does she and her husband why does her husband have medical debt? Why all these things? Why is he not just being treated um, without the pesky middleman charging extra amount of money? Like he's supposed to be like he and the DoorDash grandma have worked. They should be able to afford to get health care, or to have we should be able to give them health care. They shouldn't have to pay for it. Just my thoughts are so jumbled on this because there's so many aspects of this. It was just all those aspects that I just mentioned is are are some of the worst aspects of this, in my opinion, right? So then there's the oh gosh, what was I gonna go with this? This is why I do this, by the way, these less talks, because I need to be able to get my mind flowing from one thing to the next without getting super confused, which is what I often do. um, so yes, I will say this, and the richest country in the world, in world history, even, why is it that we cannot afford to make sure that all of our citizens have health care? Um, that's a big question. Everyone should ask that. Like recently, a coworker of mine was denied Medicaid, but her life partner and her son were able to be covered by Medicaid, but she wasn't because she made too much. And literally, the person on the phone with her told her that it's because of the Trump's big legislation, the BBB, um, that royally fucked everything up and um, changed the what is it, the standards, we'll say that the standards that you need to meet in order to get covered by Medicaid, right? Medicare, you have to be, was it 55 or 65? I can't remember. um they changed it. So it's just like the fact that we can't even cover, our seniors, the fact that our seniors have to go into medical debt is ridiculous. The fact that our seniors have to continue working past retirement just to be able to afford to live is incredibly shocking, probably to anyone outside of, not from this country, right? For anyone in this country, we're just like, yeah, it's just a reality that we have to deal with. Um, it's like people should enjoy retirement. The other thing is like, I know I hate that my grandmother still works myself. Like I want my grandmother to be retired, happy, enjoying, the later part of her years, doing hobbies. She works. She does, and it sucks. I worry about her being able to continue being covered under Medicare, right? These types of things, and it's just like seeing this DoorDash grandmother and hearing her talk about why she's doing what she's doing. It's not a feel good sentiment. It's like it's not even back in the day. They still do this. Local news stations, they will they will cover a story. um like one of the ones I remember the most was like, well, there's a couple that I remember really really well. One, it's like a student at the local school, it was selling lemonade and made enough money to pay off his classmates' school lunch debt. Right? And it's like, well, wait a minute. Why do those students have lunch debt? Why is that a thing? Why are students not just being fed? Why do they have to accrue debts as students, as kids? That shouldn't be a thing, and it's really fucked up that is a thing. I know Colorado just a few months back, I think, during, or maybe it was after the election, that Colorado citizens decided, I think it was Colorado, voted to um, provide free school lunch for all kids. And you had people who were mad that, that tax dollars were going to be spent to feed kids. Here we are in 2026, and we're spending money to bomb kids in other countries, but that's apparently okay because they say death to America or whatever. It's like, what? That's really fucking stupid that you are okay with bombing kids across the fucking globe, but when it comes to feeding kids in your country, you have a problem. I will say this: um, it costs 20 billion a year to get rid of child hunger, and we spent much more than that just on moving military personnel and aircraft carriers, like just your and bombs, of course, just like your regular military spending. We spent more on that. Um, we spent like three times as much on that. So it's like we literally could have just on that eradicated child hunger three times over, right? So then you have to also think like, oh, but then what about also the cost of dropped aircraft and this and that? I mean, we spent probably almost $100 billion on this illegal war in the first what 6 weeks, and all we have to show for it is higher prices, whether it be at the gas pump, whether it be at the store, buying your basic necessities, to buying your treats, to buying, I don't know, electronics. Like everything's more expensive because of this illegal war that Trump has um, started, and it's kind of wild. Now the other before I don't want to I'm going too far in a different direction here. The other type of story that you would hear is, oh, here's a 70-year-old lady who walks 2 miles to work every day at Burger King. Her coworkers got together, they chipped in and bought her a used car. How like how touching of a story this is. It's like, no, that is not a touching story. That is a dystopian story. Why is this 70-year-old having to work at Burger King, no less, but work? They shouldn't have to. They did that. They did everything that they were supposed to do. Why are we not taking care of them? Why can she not be, I don't know, tending to her garden if she wanted to, or playing mahjong if she wanted to, or I don't know, fencing? Like, she should be doing her hobbies at 70 years old. She should not be fucking walking to work at Burger King or Walmart or wherever the hell she's going. It shouldn't be a thing. So that's why this DoorDash grandma escapade was so sickening to me. Um, because this was not a feel good story. This was a very dystopian story. It just kind of shows just how backwards our American society is, and I can't stand that, right? And you shouldn't either, because if we don't change it, it's only going to get worse. The main topic that I wanted to speak on today, and I'm just going to go ahead and reference it, is the economy, but more so um, uh, the wealth gap, and also wage theft. Um, Before I do that, I also have to mention this one part of this like kind of impromptu press conference that Trump did with DoorDash Grandma, and that's that he he asked this lady what she thought about banning men from women's sports, and she was like, I don't have a thought about that. I'm here to talk about tax on tips, right? Like, she just completely deflected, and that goes to show, by the way, that most people don't care. Most people do not think about this. This is a very like um, limited subgroup of people who are always thinking about that, because at the end of the day, it doesn't matter. Most people do not care whatsoever. It's so minimal that you are so unlikely to see it, but that small subgroup of people who care about it are extremely fucking loud about it. There's no silent majority. There is a very loud minority. And so he also asked her about the war in Iran. And again, she didn't want to talk about that. She was like, I am only here to talk about tax on tips. And then she went on, I think, Fox News that same day. And she said the same thing. I was only here to talk about tax on tips. That's why I was here. Don't want to talk about anything else. So very, very interesting. It was very, very gross thing that the Trump administration did. Um, Trump is crushed on the economy. By the way, I should I should bring up that poll real quick. Trump is getting crushed on every aspect of of his campaign promises. Um, there was the latest round showed that even he is tanking on the issue of the economy. It's very, very interesting. He's losing young white men. Losing their support. It's very intriguing. So hold on, let's look at this real quick because I think this is so. Oh wait, here I want to bring up this one. It's been a minute. It's been a minute. I also forgot to change from my stream the other day, so all right. So, can I have my webcam, please? Thank you. Sorry, guys. Give me a second. Yeah. So as I was saying, I do streaming, and why can't I find anything that I am looking for at the moment? Thank you. I found it. um. All right. Here we go. So why am I not? I don't know what's happening, guys. What is going on? I see the box, but I can't get my webcam to come up. No. Anyways, I so yeah, as you can see, um Trump's approval rating is in the shitter. Job as president overall only 33% in this latest poll. Literally came out a couple days ago. 67 disapprove. Of course, he's going to have the support of the Republicans. That's There's going to be MAGA voters who are just not going to budge on this. Independents, though, he's doing terribly with the independents. If you don't have the independents on your side, then things are going to be very bad for you. The independents disapprove 76%. Now, I have to say this: Democrats could capitalize on this. All they have to do is say the right things. They're failing in this regard. Obviously, Democrats 3%. Who are the 3%? I would love to know who the 3% are on that. Immigration overall 40%, 59% disapproval rating. With the Republicans, of course, it's going to be 79%. They're very much not going to to walk away from anything that Trump does. I think the more interesting part is the independents, who, there's going to be a lot of independents who voted for him, right? But they are not fucking with what he's doing. 68% of independents disapprove. Iran, 32 overall. Republicans, 67. And I think this is down from the last polling that came out on this. 21% of independents, of course. Not of course, I'm sorry. It was still on the Republican thing. 21% of independents do not fuck with the war with Iran. That's going to be that's really bad. The economy, only 62% of Republicans are happy with the economy, and I think this number is definitely going to drop alongside Iran. I think the war with Iran, you're going to see Republican voter support fall on this, and I say that because we really haven't, like, everything that has happened to other countries, going to happen to us, but it's on a delay. So once it catches up, then I do believe um, the number of the amount of support from Republican voters on Iran and the economy will drop. Obviously, I am not an expert on this. It's just from what I can gather from news outlets, from other media sources. That's just what I'm kind of gauging, right? Um, Cost of living, wow, only 51% of Republicans on this are with Trump on the cost of living. Trump basically has said that he does not care about cost of living anymore. Republican politicians have said that they do not care about the cost of living anymore. Um, Trump, I mean, said that affordability was just a Democratic. It was made up by the Democrats. Democrats made up this word. They have totally just off, like not signed off. What's the analogy, or not the analogy, the metaphor? They've given up. All right, they don't even care anymore. They're just letting things slide, letting shit go. But anyways, polling for Donald Trump not looking good whatsoever. And again, just need the um or the Democrats to do something about it. What is going on here? I know what it is. I know what it is. There we go. There we go, baby. All right, we're back. So yes. So let me bring this back over here because I'm not that way I'm looking at the screen. So okay. So yeah. And I did want to touch on today the idea of, not even the idea, but basically what we're seeing. So it has come, it's gotten more attention recently. Now, this is a report from back in March. This was late March, March 24th, that I'm going to read. Um, but there's been more emphasis on the growing wage gap in the country, um, where uh, the wealthy are amassing more and more wealth, and I think altogether the top 1% of earners in this country increased their wealth by 1.5 trillion. I think that was the number. I might be wrong on that. I'm trying to remember, so forgive me. But they've amassed a lot more wealth in the first year of Trump too. So that should tell you something, and it should tell you that this current administration is not out to help everyday Americans. They are out here, or they are there to help the wealthy amass more wealth, whether that be corporations or that be, the billionaire tech CEOs. That is who the Trump administration is looking out for. They have no care in the world to help everyday Americans. And it should be apparent because everything that they have done so far has hurt Americans as it stands. I mean, tariffs are kind of um, a focus at the moment, right? Where American citizens have paid more for goods because of these tariffs, and they were ruled to be illegal by the Supreme Court. So what is happening now is that the Trump administration is getting ready to basically pay back companies. They're paying back, what was it, like $166 billion, and it's going to companies. It is not going to the American uh, people. Like, it is a huge fuck you to every American, whether they voted for Donald Trump or not, because of, the vast majority of us are not companies. We're not corporations. We're not billionaires, right? We're not going to see any of those. And I remember, and I'm sure most of you remember that Donald Trump said that um, Americans were going to get God, what did he call it? What is it called? Is it rebates? Not rebates. Maybe it's rebates. Basically, they said that because we're making so much money from these tariffs, we're going to dish out a little something to every American, and you can get a little $200, something like that, right? That was supposed to happen. That was never going to happen. Never going to happen. And actually, that kind of reminds me. I was having a conversation with my parents recently, and I was talking about how a friend of mine kind of lost out on a house because it got reappraised, and got on topic of, hey, private equity is really ruining the housing market for people. They're buying up the houses before someone who is trying to buy their first house can, and it's the problem. And it was brought up that Trump and the Republicans were supposed to be, doing something about that, banning private equity from doing that. And I said, it's not going to happen. Um, and obviously, because both both parties are beholden to these companies who are giving big money to their campaigns, and it's just lobbying. That's how our system is built right now, and it is very much at the it is openly antagonistic to everyday Americans. But the other thing too is that if Trump is going to do something, he's going to do it by executive order, which he has not done, whether it be to stop private equity from buying up single family homes, or dishing out rebates from the tariffs, right? Uh, if it's not done by executive order, it is not going to happen, because Trump is not he doesn't really care to go through the normal means of getting legislation passed. He is the executive order in chief. I don't know. That's like what he does. He loves EOs, and he's going to do EOs. Um, so yeah, but anyways, I wanted to read this. It's an NBC News article, and I wanted to read this real quick. Kind of touching much more in depth on the wealth gap. So, um, America's wealth gap is growing, and Trump's policies are making it bigger. How's the economy? Not bad if you're rich. Demand for luxury yachts and private jets is surging thanks to last year's tax law. Sales of $10 million plus mansions are booming as stocks hit new highs. And the wealthy and powerful will get to enjoy a new ballroom for galas at the White House. What if you aren't rich? The typical American can afford the median priced home. A new car is out of reach for many, with the average monthly payment exceeding $700. Food banks are seeing a growing number of people skipping meals because they can't afford groceries, and more middle class Americans are selling their plasma to make ends meet. Scraping by more Scraping by more paycheck to paycheck. Cost of living raising higher, but companies not what cost of living raising higher, but companies not giving a cola and stress over potential layoffs. It feels like 2008. Oh, this is cash. Okay, it's like why does this not read correctly? So, the divide between rich and poor in America is the widest it's been in at least a generation, and growing. The amount of wealth held by the top 1% increased at more than double the rate of the bottom 90%. This is big. The amount of wealth held by the top 1% increased at more than double the rate of the bottom 90% in the first 9 months of last year, according to the Federal Reserve figures. At the very top, Elon Musk's fortune is approaching that of legendary 19th century businessman John D. Rockefeller when looked at as a share of the overall U.S. economy. A variety of factors have shaped the struggles of everyday Americans and fueled the gains of the wealthy. The pandemic disrupted the housing market, making it harder to afford a home. Stocks have surged, driven by enthusiasm over AI. Manufacturing has waned, hiring has slipped, and costs continue to rise. So, as you can see, here's the bottom 50%. This is the amount of wealth that the bottom 50% has raised. In 2025, 4.25 trillion. Seen far greater gains in the past 25 years. Look at this. Look at this. Look at this. Look at this. These are trillions, guys. Trillions. 54.83 trillion. That's how much they've amassed. And again, this is a doubling in the last year right here. This is a doubling. Look what's happened to the bottom 90%, or bottom 50%, I'm sorry. Staggering, isn't it? This is why people are so pissed off, by the way. I mean, as a whole, there's still this lack of class consciousness, which we desperately need, because this bottom 50%, sorry, I'm pointing, this bottom 50%, who, think about who's in there. You're in there if you're white, you're black, you're in there if you're Indian American, if you're Asian American, if you're biracial, you're in there. If you're making 50K, you're in there. If you're making 100K, you're in there. If you're, well educated, you're in there. If you have a high school level education, there's the amount of uh, diversity in this bottom 50% is huge, but we are still divided based on these characteristics that don't actually matter. Because that bottom 50%, you can be straight, gay, trans, you can be bi. It doesn't matter. You can be in a polycule. You can be in a monogamous relationship. It doesn't matter, because the wealth gap don't care who you are. It's exploiting you, right? You're being exploited all the same. President Donald Trump's policies are amplifying these trends. 1 year into his second term, his administration has cut programs helping lower income households while advancing policies benefiting the wealthy and corporations. That's another really important point to think about. In this last, it was a few weeks ago, when Trump came out to ask for 1.5 trillion additional dollars to go to the military, a huge list came out of programs that Trump and the Republicans were planning to cut to get that money. And one of those, obviously, you got Medicaid, Medicare, you've got SNAP being cut, you've got education being cut, you've got all these things, but then you have things like LIHEAP, which is low income heating and cooling assistance, right? You've got infrastructure projects being cut. You have so many of these different programs that are centered around helping Americans being cut. And again, it's just a huge slap in the face to every American, whether you voted for Trump or not. You're getting fucked over by Trump and his administration as they absolutely gut any program that is there to help you, your family members, your neighbors, and giving those tax cuts to the wealthy, and that can be anyone from Elon Musk to some defense contractor. And that's what's happening here. He signed legislation to cut food stamps and Medicaid benefits and put new restrictions on low-income housing assistance and student loans. That was the other one that I was trying to think of. Housing assistance is getting cut. Which we have a homelessness problem in this country, by the way, the wealthiest country in the world, where we have over 700,000 people who are homeless. And again, we could house all those people with just a fraction of the money spent on this illegal war so far. To cope with the higher costs from tariffs, he has suggested Americans buy fewer dolls for their children. You guys remember that? You remember that during the holidays? He said, yeah, your daughter doesn't need that many dolls. Just buy less dolls. This is a very common tactic of austerity, by the way. When you are being told to buy less and save more, when they tell you to tighten your belts and do everything you can to do and you can do to save, austerity is coming. It's been seen before. As a matter of fact, America has forced other countries to implement austerity measures. And this is kind of something I want to talk about in the future is austerity, but also if you've heard of the boomerang theory or blowback, it boomerang theory more so, sorry. Boomerang theory where, what happens what a imperialist country is doing overseas comes back. A lot of it, a lot that's talked about with that is the oh gosh, with the violence that comes back. Less so talks about the the economic practices that come back from it. And I was just thinking about this recently, like America has forced other countries into austerity measures in order to pay back IMF loans. IMF loans are very predatory towards developing nations, right? And if you can't pay it back, well, you're going to have to make some cuts. You gotta, your citizens are gonna have to really tighten their belts and decide what they want to, what bread they want to buy, when they want to buy that bread. You know what I mean? You could do without rice for the day. You could do without health care for 10 years, next 10 years, that kind of thing, right? That's where we are, and it's going to get worse. Meanwhile, the Trump administration has given billions of dollars in tax cuts to corporations and the wealthy and loosened regulations on banking while easing rules around cryptocurrency, which he's benefited from personally. That's another point. In fact, another point to bring attention to. Trump has increased his own wealth through the policies that he has pushed for while hurting everyday Americans. Donald Trump talks a lot about the working class. His MAGA base is primarily working class, but if you look at the data, the working class is doing very badly in the second Trump administration, said Robert Reich. I do like Robert Reich, by the way. I have one of his books that I'm going to read. A professor emeritus at the University of California, Berkeley, who led the Labor Department during the Clinton administration. The real growth in the second Trump administration has been in corporate profits and in the wealth of the people at the top. Trump has defended his economic record, referring to concerns over affordability as a hoax and blaming weakness in the economy on Democrats. He's dismissed numerous polls showing increasing economic anxiety, saying in his State of the Union address in February that he has ushered in a golden age of America. That's his big thing. He just lies about everything. In this instance, the economy. But the thing is, you can't lie when people are feeling it in their pockets, man. As evidence has cited, raising 401k balances, a drop in the mortgage rates, and lower gas prices. Though gas prices have since spiked after his attacks on Iran disrupted the global flow of oil. Again, this article was like just a couple of weeks, a few weeks into it. We're now on week like 7, where now the ceasefire is pretty much is gone at this point. And again, America's receiving things on a delay. So don't be surprised when those gas prices spike back up. All right. Also, there's a lot of molestation of money that goes on. Trump plays with the markets day in and day out. The S&P 500, fueled by an AI boom, grew around 13% during the first year of his second term. Trump's allies argue that while it may take time, all Americans will benefit from last summer's tax cuts, with the average refund rising by around $1,000 this year. According to data cited by the White House, they also say that Trump's still evolving tariffs will eventually boost U.S. Manufacturing jobs, which declined last year, noting announcements by foreign governments and corporations. Governments and corporations about plans to invest in the U.S. Well, the White House official also pointed to signs of improvement, including a lower rate of inflation that in the past several years on wages that are rising faster than inflation. That, again, is not true. Also, been a lot of layoffs in this first year of Trump, too. Um, Inflation is up now. I don't know. I don't know how much it was up when this article was written, but it's definitely up now because of this war. Some economists, including those who have served in past Republican administrations, have questioned whether those improvements will be enough to offset pressures elsewhere in the economy, including from a slowing job market, which shed 92,000 jobs in February across a broad range of industries. For Unaffordable America, a year-long series on the causes and effects of rising economic inequality, NBC News asked readers how they were faring, heard from hundreds of people in interviews and written responses. Many described struggling to find a job for higher food prices and healthcare costs, while others said they were benefiting from gains in the stock market and lower interest rates. Um, it's a long article, guys. I only have so much time, so I'm gonna move on. But or I'm gonna move on because there's the other aspect of things that I wanted to talk about was wage theft, which I don't think gets talked about enough. Um, so I have National Institute for Workers' Rights talk about wage theft. Um, I just it I don't know. It kills me to see that um that the Republicans are just allowed to lie as they do to their supporters. Because, like, obviously, if you don't support Trump, you know all the lies that come out of his mouth, right? But to his supporters, he just lies to them and says, "No, we're actually doing amazing. It's a golden age. We're the hottest country. If we're the hottest country, why did you fuck over the beef farmers or the cattle ranchers? You fucked them over, right? Why did you absolutely ruin soybean farmers? Why is it that you aren't even talking about affordability anymore? People are paying more for the same foods that they used to get, cheaper a year ago before Trump entered office again. The inflation was evening out again, and people were paying less for certain foods, and then Trump comes in, now they're paying more for those foods. And there's a lot of reasons. A lot of it has to do with the things that Trump has implemented, like immigration policy has absolutely hurt is absolutely hurting the pockets of everyday Americans because we no longer have a stable workforce to go out and do some of these manufacturing jobs that people don't want to do some of those some of the farm work that Americans don't want to do, or you know what I mean. It might not even be that they don't want to do it, but they can't do it, or it's not close enough to home for them to do that kind of thing. But it's like, regardless of what you think, it's still hurting grocery prices. Grocery prices are up because of that. Grocery prices are going to go up because we're not going to get access to fertilizer in time, right? And so there's going to be less yield for the year in terms of vegetables and fruits. It's just things like that, and it's just it's going to hit, and it's going to hit hard, and it might be a rude awakening for a lot of Americans. That's why I say that I think that the approval rating on the economy and the Iran war is going to drop for Republican voters. So I wanted to talk about wage theft. I heard this come up recently, and I thought it was really interesting. And actually, here in Ohio, in the last election cycle, when when Bernie Moreno and uh, um, oh God, why can't I remember his name right now? Oh my God, why can't I not remember his name? No, not John Huston. John Huston is a senator now. Um, his name. Oh my God, his name. Sherrod Brown. Sherrod Brown. There it is. But Sherrod Brown was running against Bernie Moreno in the last election cycle. Um, I know one thing that came up was that Bernie Moreno was uh, was God, what was it? There was something. There was like he was in favor of some kind of law that basically allowed companies to engage in wage theft. And wage theft can look like not paying overtime, um, or only doing part pay for overtime. Um, anything in which work is not compensated for is your wage theft. So, and a lot of workers still see this today. So, minimum wage and overtime laws are two of the most important legal protections workers have at both the state and federal levels. But these laws are violated by every employers every day. What does wage theft look like? Every year in this country, workers lose more money to wage theft than is lost to all forms of property crime, robberies, burglaries, larceny, and motor vehicle theft. Combined, sorry. Each year, well over $15 billion is stolen from the workers by their employers. Each year, less than 3% of that total is recovered for the same workers. Employers steal their workers' wages in a variety of ways: paying less than minimum wage, not paying overtime or misclassifying workers as exempt from overtime pay, not paying workers for all hours worked, taking illegal deductions from workers' paychecks, not paying the prevailing wage in government contracting, automatically deducting for breaks that workers don't get, stealing workers' tips, not paying workers last paychecks. Fundamentally, the problem is one of incentives, penalties, and resources for enforcement are too low, meaning that any legal action employers face for violations can be treated as the cost of doing business. Approaches to the crisis are underlying laws. States can combine combine this crisis by comprehensively reforming wage and hour law, as described in the National Employment Law Project reporting, winning wage justice. Sorry, guys. I get thrown off. I try to read too fast. The Federal Fair Labor Standards Act is a floor, not a ceiling. States can give workers quadruple damages and attorneys' fees in wage theft cases, as Washington D.C. has done, and make wage theft laws, statutes of limitations more worker friendly. They can do more to ensure workers are paid for each hour worked by improving their paid meal and rest break laws, as well as requiring written notice of pay rates and regular wage statements. Um, so I'm not gonna go through all this simply because I don't have any more time um, to do this, but I just thought it would be kind of interesting to for people to kind of get interested in this and think about looking more into it and saying, "Oh, have I lost my wages from this company?" And look at your check stub, see if there's anything that is inconsistent. Talk with your coworkers, see if they see any inconsistencies in their paychecks. Are you getting paid less than minimum wage um, for your state? I would say state in this case, just because obviously the federal minimum wage is still $7.25 an hour, but states have implemented their some of their own minimum wages. There are more states these days that have $15 minimum wages. Are you getting paid that? Are you not getting paid that? Are you getting paid less than 7.25 if you're like a waiter or something? If you're working in a restaurant, are you getting paid? Well, I guess that's different. Why is there a difference in that minimum wage? One that's, where tips are involved. Are your tips being stolen from your manager? Just just these things. Just kind of start thinking about it. And I would say the last thing that I would say on wage theft too is that when I would say at this point the state is even stealing from you, because when they take money out for federal taxes, think about what it's getting used for and what it's not being used for. If it's not being used to improve your life and your community's lives, I would consider that wage theft. But that's just me. Anyways, guys, I have to go. Um, Thank you for listening to me ramble on and read poorly because I'm so frantically trying to get through things. I really appreciate it, and I will see you all next time. Peace.